Hi everybody, it is April and I am in my craft room, and today we are going to make a quilt called the Layer Cake Tumble. The Fat Quarter Shop has what they call a shortcut quilt series. Now, this sounds right up my alley, shortcut quilt. And of course I was drawn to their Layer Cake Tumble, because you use pre-cuts. And here is my layer cake. I picked this up in one of my quilt shop hop outings because I thought the little houses were adorable. And this is from P&B Textiles. And until I found this pattern, which is free by the way, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with it. If you have a layer cake and you have coordinating 2.5-inch strips, you're set. You don't have to cut anything because that's what this pattern calls for. I don't have any white on white or strips that would coordinate with this layer cake already cut. So I'm going to take this snowflake. Hopefully you can see it because it's another white on white. And I am going to break out last year's Christmas present. I think it was last year. Yeah, maybe it was the year before. It was a Christmas present one year. My AccuQuilt Go Big and the die that cuts out 2.5-inch strips. And I'm going to cut my strips. Now you can make this in a couple sizes. 105 by 105, that ain't gonna happen. 84 by 84, nope. Or 63.5 by 84.5. That sounds like me. So I need 2 print layer cakes or 48 10-inch squares, 1 solid jelly roll or 24 2.5-inch by width of fabric strips, 3/4 yard for binding and 5.25 yards backing. And as is typical, I'm not going to follow this to the letter because they have you cutting down your 10-inch square to a 9-inch square. Why would you want to cut a perfectly good sized 10-inch square down? So I'm not going to cut it down. What I'm going to do is first cut my strips. It just so happens that my snowflake white on white are made by P&B as well. Now let's see if I have enough squares. I don't have the patience. So here's the first fabric. Gnomes, kitties and puppies. Okay, and then we have the same fabric just in different colorways. Yeah, I'll probably just throw in a couple solid and be done with it. You know, like 7. I need 7 more blocks. So I found this in my stash. I like the way that it goes with everything. So I'm going to use my shape cut and I'm going to start this at 0 and I'm going to cut 10 inches by width of fabric, and I'm going to do that twice. Now I can lay my strips down. Now I'm going to set my shape cut and put my 0 line near my selvage edge and cut 10 inches. I've got my fabric cut. So let's see what's next. Make 48 layer cake tumble blocks. We're going to go to the sewing machine. I will show you how to put together a few blocks. Then I will finish putting together my blocks and we'll meet back at the design wall. You can handle your strips two different ways. You can cut your strips at 10 inches, or if you are going to follow the pattern, then you want to cut your strip at 9 inches. I am keeping my 10 by 10 block whole, so I will cut 10-inch strips. Or you can just take the entire strip, attach it to one side of the block, and then trim it after you've connected it. Take what's left over and attach it to the top side of the block and trim it again. I am going to cut mine first, just because I want to be able to chain piece and I don't want to have to come back and forth and cut things off. What we're going to do is we are going to put two sides on each of our 10-inch blocks. So here I have a 10-inch block. I'm going to put a 10-inch strip. I happen to cut all of my strips ahead of time. You do not have to do that. It is totally up to you. You can just take the full strip, chain piece, and then cut them apart. Now I'm going to finger press to the dark side, and I've got white fabric, so finger press like that, and then I'm going to take a 12-inch strip and do the same thing. Now I can show you chain piecing on that because I haven't done all of my 12-inch strips. And of course, if you feel more comfortable pinning or clipping, that is absolutely fine. And I will be ready to press them and put them up on the design wall. You make 48 of those, and then what makes it a tumble block is how you organize them. As you can see, the quilt top has been quilted and it has a backing. Now I took a poll and the overall consensus was it needed a border. Well, I got in a hurry and I didn't put a border on, but I lined it, or I backed it with fleece in this pretty poinsettia fabric. And I'm going to cheat because this is the time of the year you need to cheat. I'm going to cut about an inch away from the edge of my quilt. And then, like here up top, I'm going to fold over the fleece, and that is how I'm going to bind it. Now, one of the reasons I'm cheating is because this particular quilt is going to be mine. I practiced an all-over feather, which I think ended up looking like a paisley meander, but up here in the corner where I started, not so good. And again, it was practice, so I get the practice ones. What can I say? So let me take us all to the cutting table. I will show you how I'm going to cut about an inch away from the edge of the quilt, and then we'll run it through the sewing machine and we'll have a finished product. Normally what I would be doing is I would be trimming along the edge and getting rid of this extra. This time I'm going to do a little bit of the opposite. I am going to measure about an inch away from the edge of my quilt top, that is. I'll use this line and line it along one of these seams that goes straight across, and that way I have an inch to fold over. And even if the edge of my quilt isn't perfect, it's okay because it will be hidden by that fold over. And fleece doesn't fray. I can fold it over, hack it down with my sewing machine, and there you go. What I'm doing is I am taking this corner where these two flaps are still flopping up, and I'm going to zigzag stitch to make sure they're down. So I just put them here. And then I have a pretty little zigzag. My quilt is complete. So I have a little layer cake tumble. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Eat some chocolate and be kind to everyone. Until next time, bye. I don't have any white on white or strips that will